Okay, so welcome to the lesson on globalization. Unfortunately, I am not able to be there to do this, and I couldn't afford missing another day without doing these notes. So we're going to go through these, and you will pause the video as you are watching this to watch the embedded videos that are within this lesson. So, what is globalization, first of all? Globalization is basically the movement of goods and ideas and even technology around the world. And as we have advanced our technology, we've been able to move all these things faster and faster than we've ever been able to before. Um, this is a lot of benefits to us. We can communicate instantaneously. We can travel anywhere around the world in about 24 hours, and but there are some negative effects. Some of these effects can be the exploitation of people, human health, as well as the environment. So I want you to watch all these videos. Are really about 3 minutes long or so. So if you can pause the video and watch the explanation on globalization here, you'll get a better understanding of what globalization really means. Okay. So what has what has been the path and sort of what is the path of globalization? So here in the United States, how products and stuff get to your stores or wherever it is you're shopping. Usually that starts in the United States. It starts with research and design. A lot of products are designed and researched in the United States, but that's really the only part that takes place in the United States. Once they do the research and design, then raw materials are then sourced from all over the world, wherever they can get the cheapest prices for the materials, and then they are assembled in multiple different places. A really good explanation of this is this video here on basically how does a Converse sneaker get from its research and design all the way to the store where you would buy the shoes from. It's really interesting because we think of Converse, sort of American made kind of thing. I mean, it's a really popular shoe, and just all the all the different places it goes before it gets to the store. It's pretty interesting. So I would suggest watching this video as well. But the products are shipped all around the world, and it makes several different stops along the way.
By the time you see the
So hopefully you pause the video there and we're able to watch that. But so how did this happen? How did we able to get all these things so quickly? This is always something that's just so interesting for me. It's so mind-boggling. It's just how long it took for anything to get anywhere. Back in the day, you think about and it says there in 1881. It took to go from London to Hong Kong. So basically, traveling around the world took 35 days back in 1881. It was a long time. And even in the early 1900s, we think of that's it's not too long ago, it was 25 days to go around the world. And even in the early 1900s, in 1937, even when planes were being used, it still took 10 days to travel around the world with 21 layovers. Now, you can get from London to Hong Kong in half a day, nonstop, which is crazy. And these pictures of just train travel back in the day, in 1830, it took, if you're leaving New York, all these are from New York City. So if you're traveling from New York and you had to go to New Orleans, or Minneapolis, Minnesota. I mean, it would take 6 weeks to get there by train, and that's something that's a 4-hour flight now. Even in 1857, when you had better train technology and more train tracks that were being built, you can get anywhere on the East Coast within a day, but to get out west, to Arizona or California, it still took 4, 5, 6 weeks to do. And now with airplanes, you can get anywhere in the world in less than a day. So, what is the impact of globalization? What's the impact of people, or on people, and impact on human health and human impact on the environment? Well, really, globalization happened with trade. A lot of people, no country can be self-sufficient. So every country needs to get something from somewhere else. There's no country that has all the resources, that has everything they need to get to consume anything they want or build anything they want. There's no country like that. So as technology has advanced, there's been more demand for things that countries don't have, and so then you have to import them. Well, that's really expensive to import things from other countries. So what countries started doing is they started making these trade agreements. So one of them that was done in the early 1990s was NAFTA. NAFTA is the North American Free Trade Agreement, where Canada and the U.S. and Mexico all agreed that they would get rid of any of the taxes, or significantly lower the taxes for trade between the countries. So it allowed basically the entire continent of North America to trade with each other without the extra costs. And so that was really great. And the WTO, that's the World Trade Organization, which the U.S. is a part of as well. But it made everything a lot cheaper. So now, like in America, we can get, for example, avocados here that are grown in Mexico. We can get them in the United States. And, we can get them for pretty cheap. And we can get stuff from Canada and all these things that we can get for cheap prices. Made everything really great for the consumer, because it made everything low cost. But the problem with making everything low cost is that it makes it really difficult for people who are growing those foods in their own countries. And so you see the avocado one here, but the one that was really hurt was corn. We grow corn in the United States for really, really cheap. So when we started exporting, and with this trade agreement, we started exporting to Mexico and to Canada, we really put Mexican farmers out of work by doing that, because Mexican farmers couldn't grow corn at the same price point that we were able to grow corn. So when corn started coming into Mexico from the United States at a cheaper cost, it made a lot of corn growers go out of business in Mexico, because they couldn't compete with the cheap corn from the United States. So there's the impact on people. Excuse me. So what's the impact on human health? This is a really kind of funny video. They talk about zombies and zombieism as this this disease, but really it's kind of a parody on pandemics and viruses that go around the world. But basically, when we had the flu, the Spanish flu in 1918, back then it took weeks for people to get across the ocean when they were traveling. So when the flu was spreading like it was in 1918, it didn't actually spread very quickly, because it took people so long to get from some like England to the United States, that you could get sick and um, you could get healthy again before you would even get to your destination. Now, because the travel has become so fast, it pandemics, the way things move now, things can quickly escalate because you can be sick and then you're not even symptomatic yet, and you've already made it to your destination and got a whole plane full of people sick and everyone in an airport sick and probably everyone on a bus sick, and then you're finally feeling symptomatic. Well, meanwhile you've already passed on the virus to 200 people or so, and that's the sort of disadvantage of everything being able to move so quickly. um, and these pathogens have even been seen on shipping containers too, as viruses. Shipping containers can make it so quickly across the ocean now that you get diseases that will be harbored in bugs or insects and stuff like that that will survive the trip across the ocean and then end up in other places as well. You should watch the video. It's kind of funny. They do a little parody on pandemics, but the reality is that it's true. Okay, this is the last slide. And so the last one is the impacts on the environment. Um, Obviously, human health, all that stuff is those are issues and things that people's jobs and everything are really important. But obviously, this is an environmental science class, so how does it impact the environment? Well, as globalization happened and people were able to get goods a lot quicker, and trade agreements were able to make things cheaper and for people to get things from different countries um, pretty easily. It really put a lot of stress on the places where things grow. For example, like coffee. Coffee is grown in certain areas, and most of them are developing countries. But as people got a lot of need for coffee, and trade agreements were signed to trade things at really cheap costs, people are able to get coffee from all over the world, and it really put a lot of stress on those countries that grow coffee. The same thing happened, with we talked about palm oil and soy. Things were able to be traded and be really profitable for these countries, that they cut down tropical rainforests to grow soy or palm oil so they can make all the money in trading with all these countries now that the trade agreements have been established. And you have grasslands also being cut down to plant crops, and so these are the impacts of globalization on the environment. So that's it. Thanks for listening, and go work on your projects. Thanks.